So back in 2016, I had spoken with enough pharmacists to know that there was a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and people who did have jobs hated it, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people couldn't find a job. That's when I decided to create the Happy PharmD, and I said I want to create a resource, services, and courses and guides to help people find better and happier jobs. But the more I talked with people also who didn't decide to work with us, the more I realized I've changed my vision from helping pharmacists find jobs to helping pharmacists find and create jobs.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I have my coffee here. You have your coffee. What are you drinking today?
I'm full disclosure. I'm drinking tea.
This is a problem.
Okay, because
Alex, get coffee. It keeps us up.
it's too late for coffee. Alex, do you drink coffee at night?
No, not at night. I drink coffee 6 to 2 usually.
Okay, see, Joanne,
It's
he
unfortunate.
makes sense.
It's
Not like
just
you.
unfortunate, gentlemen.
Uh, so today's guest is Alex Barker, or known as Happy PharmD. That's how I found him online and connected with him. So idea was today to talk to Joanne, my wife, who is a pharmacist and who recently had a career change. But then we found that it would be great to have Alex as well, and kind of do this conversation about pharmacy and career change and the future of pharmacy. Um, so, Alex, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Marco. Appreciate it.
So, Joanne, did you have any questions for Alex to begin
I
with?
do, Alex.
Oh boy,
Uh, yeah.
Get ready,
my
because
feet are sweaty.
Oh, well, I mean, we're just gonna start light. A lot of what I'm interested in learning from you is I understand that you talk to a lot of people who get suffer from burnout and they come to you, they're in trouble. What are the typical problems you're seeing that's out there? Why is our career being abandoned so early? I mean, I certainly have personal reasons, but I'd like to hear from you more about what you're finding, what's out there.
Uh, there's a lot of different perspectives to take. There's the perspective of what does the literature say, um, and usually the literature just reiterates what's common sense. Um, it just validate it. But you're right. I do talk with dozens of pharmacists every month, and it's a fairly consistent trend. People reporting the typical things as to why they don't like their job. So that's things like the work overload, a lack of community that in the workplace, whether that means they're being bullied. I'm someone who went through some bullying in my first job, and it wasn't fun. Yeah, that definitely led to a burnout environment for myself. Um, there's other variety of factors as well. Insufficient reward. That's not as common in pharmacists. Those are some of the technical terms that we use to describe burnout. But what I, if I had to like sum it up as to what I continue to hear is I wish I could help more people,
I see.
but I'm forced to do things that I don't care about and
Okay.
I don't like doing.
You
Um,
see, what really resonates with me with some of the things you've said, it primarily has to do with I wish I could help more people. That is along the lines of I wish I could do more with what I know. I feel like we're such a talented group of people, but it seems like our careers have been hijacked by an industry that's taken us in a completely different direction. You know, we're all clinical people, and we think clinically. Anybody who's been through that rigorous training, and it's a shame that we're, I don't know, we're kind of our careers have been condensed to less than clinical monitoring. You know, they make clinical monitoring such a small component of what we could be doing. You know, you turn it into for example, one of the retail chains just turns it into, let's call a certain number of people and make sure you've checked on their, monitored them. Well, if you're just checking a box, then you're not really monitoring those people. So I really feel like if it came from a genuine place, and time was allowed to make those connections, I think more of us would not feel like that. And one thing that I heard you say on one of your talks, Alex, that really resonated with me had to do with education. And I think that's really, I don't know, if we could be more utilized, for what we know. And if our knowledge could take us further than just at the doorstep of drug utilization reviews. If we knew
Right.
more about the patient.
Yeah. I mean, on my end, I mean, the way I see things, it's really needs to be a right fit for the person, the job. The jobs are going to be there, but if it's the right fit. What's your thought?
There's a lot to unpack there.
Hey,
Um,
we're not rushing.
Drink coffee, Alex.
Again, it's late at night. I don't want to stay up all night. I get up at
Gotcha.
5, so
All right.
it's an early morning.
All right.
The way I like to think about it in simplest terms is it's number care versus healthcare. Um, no one joined pharmacy saying to themselves, I can't wait to make my retail pharmacy tons of money. I can't
Right.
wait to improve some arbitrary metrics. Um, People joined our profession. Yes, the salary is obviously a draw or a part of it, but most people join because they enjoy helping other people. Um, I find that the heart of the burnout issue, it it could be condensed down to you have your own set of core personal values, the things that are really important to you. Maybe it's empathy, maybe it is honesty or transparency. Whatever your core values are, as you work, you slightly get bent off course. Think of your own core values driving you north. You know where north is at all times. But as you start to work in the workplace, you begin to see some little tiny decisions that pull you away from your true north. And it's very subtle at first. And you may even do something like justify uh, these small decisions, like, well, I'm gonna try to do these as quickly as I can. I'm gonna go through all of these patient charts as quickly as I can, just so that I don't get yelled at by the boss.
True.
And so, rather than treating each patient like your grandmother, which is, something that's important to you internally, you instead decide, I'd rather not go through the pain of hearing from my boss again.
Yeah.
And it's small, little, tiny decisions like that that add off, where you no longer are living in your values.
Right.
It's what psychologists like to call moral injury.
Right.
You're in an environment that is forcing you to do things that go against your code. The classic, I don't know why I keep thinking of this example when I think about this, but I think about, Indiana Jones getting in a plane with a bunch of snakes. Like, it goes against his code. He
Right.
hates
Yeah.
snakes. That's not what he does. I probably need to come up with a better movie example than that, but,
Oh, that was great.
something that you love, something that you hate, those are all based on what you believe in, what you care about, what comes natural to you. And slowly but surely, the work environment just slightly bends your compass away from your true north.
Right.
And that unfortunately just has a tons of cascade. Joanne
Right.
Your husband told me you recently
Yeah.
left your job.
I
Um,
did, Alex. I
I
watched a movie. I watched Gary Vee, and he said, you know what? If you are making a turn, and sorry, Gary Vee, if I'm saying this incorrectly, but if you're basically on in a canoe, and there's a rock coming at you, and there's you can either go right or left. You know what? He said it doesn't make a difference. I quit that day. I quit. I called
wow.
Marco and I said, listen, Marco, I have to leave. I have to leave. I've known this for a couple weeks now, and I have to do it today. So I called my boss. I said, listen, I've never quit before, and so how do we do this? I'd like to leave, but I like to leave on a nice note, you know, goodbye.
Hmm.
And he said, I said, will October 8th or whatever, 2 days after my birthday, would that be okay? He said, yeah. I said, is there anything else I need to do? He said, no, you can quit. I said, oh, this is great. I'll be at work tomorrow. And I quit. And, it, and the 3 weeks leading up to my quitting were the best weeks in pharmacy I'd ever had
Hmm.
because I ran it my way.
Hmm.
This text said, Joanne, can you give that flu shot? I said, gladly. And I went in there and I did what I wanted to do. I talked to the
Bring it on,
patients.
right? Bring
I
it on.
said, listen, you're here for a flu shot. You shouldn't be this upset. What's upsetting you? And I talked to these patients and I said, listen, you're a heart patient. I just gave you some hypertensive medication. We shouldn't be upsetting you. What happened? Did it take too long? And they just relaxed. And it was great.
Hmm.
I was able to lead pharmacy the way I wanted to. And yeah, and it was about 15 to 20 minutes. If they said, Joanne, you're going to give us shingles and pneumonia, it just took a lot longer. It was great. And the
Yeah.
techs knew I had prepared them. I said, listen, these last couple of days are going to be the last days, so I'm going to do what I want. And
There.
I'm going to, and I talked to so many people for hours. It was great because that's
I.
what I wanted to do. I wanted to
Of
really talk
course.
to these patients and give them a meaningful time at the pharmacy. And we built a lot of relationships. And say, one of them said, hey, are you a floater? Are you gonna come back? When are you coming back? I said, actually, today is my last day, but thank you. It was great for me too, and,
Hmm.
and it was wonderful,
Yeah.
But I had been practicing like that for the last 3 weeks, and then finally it occurred to me I just have to leave because this is really how I like to do it. And like you said, those metrics are not going to survive if I keep doing this. So I
Yeah.
won't hurt the staff pharmacist. I'll just segue out. But
Yeah.
I learned how to do it. So now I sat and I was quiet for 2 weeks, and then I decided, you know what? I called up my friend. I said, I realize I'm bored. I'm bored, and I really need to work. So do you have some work for me? And she owns a pharmacy, and she said, Joanne, sure. Why don't you do some chronic care management? And that opened up a whole new world for me. And so right now, I volunteer, and I get to look at patients holistically.
Mm.
What that means is I get access to their charts. I get to see what are the chronic illnesses they have. I take a look at their drugs, and I kind of fiddle with it. And I say, are those, go through the typical things. Is that the right drug, the right dose for the right patient? And it works. And I enjoy it because I'm seeing another side of pharmacy, which brings me, Alex, to another point. What's the future for pharmacy? How do you see it? Because I see it as we need to carve our own way. So what do you see? Where do we fit in?
I kind of don't want to answer your question just because there's so
It's
much to
okay.
unpack from your story, but I will
Oh,
answer it.
oh, sorry, Alex.
No, no.
We'll
I,
take a shot at whatever
no,
whatever
no, no, no,
interests
no.
you then.
I, we can circle back to it, but because your story is so interesting,
Oh,
because it
okay.
is not the typical story that I run into, although I do hear people who just say, I can't handle this anymore. But
Hmm.
usually it comes from a place of not as much wellness as what you're describing. Um,
I love
so,
patience, Alex. I love
mo
people.
yeah, most people do.
Yeah.
You can tell when you're burned out if that every day you feel like you don't have patience, you have problems.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
and when that transition happens on a regular basis, I mean, that's the kind of gut check. that I usually give people for burnout. There's there's surveys you can take and all that. So where
Wow.
does pharmacy fit in?
Yeah.
Um, uh, I'll backtrack a little
Yeah.
bit to share with you my vision and how I've
Yes.
come to this and where I think pharmacy can fit in this future. And some of this is radical, and some of this is a little bit. Some people aren't going to like the things that I think are going to happen, and I don't have any agenda here that I'm trying to push, or I don't have stock in big pharma or anything like that.
I love it. I love it.
Um, so back in 2016, I had spoken with enough pharmacists to know that there was a problem, and people who did have jobs hated it, and a lot of people couldn't find a job. And so that's when I decided to create the Happy PharmD, and I said, I want to create a resource, services, and courses and guides to help people find better and happier jobs. Doesn't mean they're perfect. It just means they're doing something that actually makes them happy at the end of the day, and that has a compound effect on their family, their community, and so much more. But as I began helping people, in the beginning it was just me. We grew and we helped more people and we helped pharmacists find new, better jobs. But the more I talked with people, also who didn't decide to work with us, the more I realized that the job market, it swings back and forth, that we're on the pendulum on the other side. I do think that there will come a day when we'll be in demand again. I don't know when, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but I do believe that that is the future, that one day we will be in demand, because every market fluctuates. I guess I hold on to that economic law. But for now, what do we do?
Yes.
I've changed my vision from helping pharmacists find jobs to helping pharmacists find and create jobs. So
I like it.
while our primary focus right now is usually working with people one-on-one or in groups or in our courses, helping them figure out what makes them great naturally, what are their, God-given born gifts that they have, and how can they use that in the specific pharmacy niches and markets and different industries that are within our industry. I think there will always be a place for that, but I'm starting to realize I need to be teaching pharmacists how to create jobs for themselves,
Yes.
but in addition, creating businesses. So I'll give you an example. I maybe about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, so this is like beginning of 2017, I started working with this pharmacist named Brittany Hoffman Eubanks. She is a community manager pharmacist, enjoys her work. It is stressful, but she does enjoy community pharmacy. She doesn't, want to throw the whole baby out with the bathwater. But she wanted to create a business. She wanted to create a medical writing business, and her business, among some others, was like kind of like the foundation of this idea of what if instead of you just creating this lifestyle entrepreneur movement, you watch Gary Vaynerchuk. If you don't know him, check him out. You either love him or you hate him or you tolerate him.
The third one.
Yeah, I tolerate him. He's a little bit obnoxious,
well.
but
He's a little bit much, but he told me he helped me quit.
Yeah,
He said,
yeah.
he said go either way.
Once a month, tiny
I
doses.
dose him once a month.
Hey, I listened to that video and
Otherwise,
I quit.
you have a lot of side effects.
I can't take away that value from you, Joanne. He spoke truth to you, and
He did.
He did. Yeah. So
I
he's good.
believe.
But there's this big movement into lifestyle entrepreneurship, which is this idea that by creating a business, you'll finally have the freedom that you seek. And there is a tiny bit of truth in that. But there's also a lot of stress that most people are not aware of or want to have. But I thought, what if we taught pharmacists how to create businesses and models in which they could hire other people and they could potentially employ them full time. And to fast forward many months, Brittany is now at that point where she has a very successful business that she's created on the side, and it's employing other pharmacists to do the work of
Yeah.
medical writing.
That is
So
awesome.
She
that's
focused
the
on the
kind of
right.
future.
Yeah.
I like it.
Go ahead.
No, I was just commenting that she focused on the things that she thinks that where she can bring the most value,
Right.
and really kind of laser focus on that, and not get distracted by all the negative around
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
It's going to take giants. We're going to have to do this in order to really change the trajectory of our profession. I feel
There-
like we have been for too long being led. We need to lead.
well, you need good examples. I mean, I like the
Yeah.
fact that Alex just brought up a good example of what can be done, because I think a lot of people are just, day in, day out, they just feel hopeless, like this is not going to change. But giving an example that, yes, you can change it. Not everybody can just quit a job and just and survive, but you have single moms and dads, and they just have to provide. But having that mindset that, okay, I'm gonna go get a paycheck because I have to, but then my mind is also going to work and think about other things and what's positive. Like Joanne loves patients. Like she's a people person. I'm a tech guy, even though I'm just failing to keep my thing in my ear right now.
That's okay.
But
It's a lack of coffee. That's all it is. Just a lack of coffee.
okay, tea,
Don't worry about
Joanne,
it.
tea.
Don't worry about it.
And might, good Lord. But no, it's just you have to find your niche, like what you like to do, and find a way how to channel the energy. So,
Alex, have we been overpaid for too long?
You haven't even let me finish my answer to the previous question.
Sorry.
okay, yeah.
Go
Don't
ahead,
be.
Alex.
No, don't be. I think there's a lot more to unpack what's happening and what will happen. But the way I want to shape, I'll just end by saying the way I want to shape the future of pharmacy is by helping people create businesses that employ other people.
Yeah.
My big dream, my big vision is to make my company so successful that I don't need a lot. I'm a pretty frugal guy at this point. I don't have a Tesla. I want one day, but I don't have one. But what I want to do with all this money is I want to take it and I want to invest it in great people with great ideas so that they can build companies and employ people. And I think we have to have some innovation happen because I think you're right. We have been stuck in the doldrums for too long. So your question to me was, have we been paid too much for too long? I think that's a great question. I think I've spoken actually with a few economists. I can't say that word very well. I've spoken with a few of these, economists. Thank you. I've spoken with a few of these intelligent people about labor economics, specifically in our industry.
Right.
And none of them have once questioned the fact that back in the early 2000s, when the demand for pharmacists was high, the salary arbitrarily shot up, right? Everyone knows this.
Yes.
Because of the high demand that was there. You could make some arguments that a pharmacist's true salary is not at that point. And we're seeing that now because obviously we're in oversupply and we are seeing a significant decrease in our starting salaries. As of this year in 2019, word on the street, if you didn't know, was that practically most of the graduating class of 2019, excuse me, were offered jobs at $45 an hour. So it's $90,000 a year roughly, which is a pretty significant drop just from a few years ago. So I've been playing around with this idea, and I haven't come up with a blog post yet or a video. So this is like the first time that I'll be articulating this idea. But I think what has happened is that because of the market forces, it's created a profession where a lot of people entered the profession being paid a significant sum of money, and it's created an atmosphere of amateurish behavior. And I don't want to call out specific people because I entered it in the same exact way. And I'm not saying
we agree.
I'm not saying everyone is an amateur. I'm not trying to downgrade your personal achievements. Hear me out.
No, absolutely.
Because everyone was paid so much out of school, and you are practically paid the same amount as everyone else based on how little or how much effort you put in, unless you're in sales or in management typically.
Right.
This in turn creates an environment where you're really basing your life on fear. You're basing the fact that you have this job that is forcing you to pay your bills, your mortgage, your loans, and you're too scared to quit. Why quit? Because you have a great job that pays you a huge amount of money that you probably couldn't make anywhere else. So your dreams of writing a book or becoming a writer or an artist or a musician or doing something completely different seems too scary for you. And so you have lots of people stuck in cages. I don't really have a great philosophical or research evidence to prove this point, but I've spoken with well over 1,000 pharmacists. And if there is one surprising theme that I've noticed amongst people, is that many people have dreams. And sadly, few of them have dreams and aspirations about pharmacy. The vast majority of people tell me things like, sometimes I'll ask during a coaching session, I'll ask a question like, let's say tomorrow you all of a sudden have $500 million in the bank. But in order to keep that amount of money, you have to do some sort of work. You have to do something. Otherwise, you lose that amount of money. Doesn't mean you have to work 40 hours a week or 60 or even 20, but you have to do something that helps others. What would that be? And occasionally people will say something in pharmacy, and that's a great way for us to segue into a new path. But many times people say things like, I wish I was a carpenter. And it's so funny that we, for whatever reason, everyone's got their own, that we justify this huge burden we took on to do with this education so that we could just have this job and this safe income. It's almost like it's the safe, cowardly way out. I say this from experience because my big dream was to be a comedian. I'm not that funny, but years ago, that was there's still hope, I suppose. But my dream as a kid was to go on YouTube and make funny videos. And I love that stuff. But you know what? That was scary. And so rather going all out on something and giving it my everything, committing to it, I chickened out. And I did what was a lot safer, which was to rely on my brains and my natural talent to memorize. And I went into sciences. It wasn't I saw a pharmacist do what a pharmacist did and I was passionate about pharmacy of a sudden. It was, I'm good at math and science and I don't want to touch blood, butts, or guts. So, and I feel like a lot of pharmacists are in that space. We are scared to do something completely different because it means all sorts of things about myself, like I'm a failure, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Well, it
I
has to do with what really informs us, right? So if you're a
Yeah.
Buddhist, or you're trying to be a Buddhist like I am, or you're a minimalist, perhaps those things don't matter. I had a lot of people the day I quit and I said, "Listen, I'm leaving." They said, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" And I said, "Nothing." I said, "I don't know. I have no idea. It's unknown." And they looked at me, and one guy said, "I always want to be a writer, but I don't have anybody to draw pictures." I said, "Guess what? You just met an artist. I'm going to illustrate those pictures for you, and I have some up there. And I'm going to take him these pictures." And it kind of, my quitting freed a lot of people because they had to sit and think, I could
Mm,
do this too. There are all of these different things that our dreams got shut out. But the sure way to know that whether pharmacy is for you or not for you, one way to test it is to quit, because then what are you going to do? And one thing I always thought, if you had asked me this question prior to quitting and prior to the 2 weeks of sitting by myself, I'd have said, "Oh, you gave me a lot of money, I'm going to be an artist. I'm just going to draw, and that's going to be the end of it." And I got rejected from art school, so the pharmacy school is what accepted me. So that was it. The world made its
mm,
choice for me. Art school
yeah.
said, "You're not good enough." I said, "Fine, I know I can do science. That's easy."
Yeah.
But after you quit and you sit with yourself, and you've been with this career for 10 years or so, like I have, it grows on you. So I needed to do something within pharmacy. That's what led me to call my friend. I mean, I could have sat here and just, I guess, doodled and drawn. I still draw, but there is something there when you've done it for 10 years, even though maybe it may not have been the starting point. Maybe it's not the starting point for you. But do you miss it if you don't do something in there, Alex?
Mm,
I don't know.
Well,
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
It
for me, it's a very. We've talked, me and John, about this many times. Um, but really, kind of, you can, as you do something, you do it well. You know, you kind of get the strength from it, and then you reach a point in your career where you kind of, okay, I've done this long enough that I feel comfortable. Now let's expand. You know, so
yeah.
it's also important to kind of recognize that if you 2 3 years out of school, it might not be as clear. But when you're 10 15 years out of school and you've practiced, you've seen enough, then you also have this chance of putting things, okay, I'm going to do pharmacy and this other passion and try to put them together, like medical writing and pharmacy, or I don't know, comedian in pharmacy. I don't know. I guess you can do that.
There's a lot of jokes
Um,
there.
Listen, it's possible. You can put anything together.
Hmm. That's how
Yeah,
innovation happens.
really. I mean, you can do anything. I think somebody's writing a sitcom based on pharmacy. They've been trying to for years, and we all agree there's a
A lot of jokes.
jokes there. Um, but essentially, what I'm trying to say is that you just have to open up your mind and see what can you do. I mean, you can completely abandon pharmacy, or just try to make this kind of merger of two passions.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's what we usually find happens when we work with people. The
mhm.
Yes.
maj the majority of the time, we find people saying things like, "I don't know what I want to do, but it's not this." And usually, it does not mean that they go into something completely different.
Mhm.
Um, one of two things I see over and over again happening. Um, Someone comes to us, they want out of where they're at because it is usually it's bad. Sometimes people do have just a career lull. It's not that bad of a place, but they're like, this isn't challenging anymore, and I realize the
Mhm.
warning signs. If I don't get out, something bad's going to happen. So they will
Mhm.
either they'll find a great new job that fits a lot of the things that they're looking for in their life right now, or they'll find a job that is just maybe slightly better. It's a slightly better work environment, or it's just a twinge better. But once they get to that place that's a twinge better, they all of a sudden have the mental capacity, the space to pursue what makes them really, really happy. And many times that is creating something that is completely outside of pharmacy. One of the guys that we worked with, his name's Eric Yee. He was a part of Marixa for a while, and did not enjoy that in work environment. And he went to go work for the military on a U.S. base. I forget where. I think in Washington. Could be. I think I'm wrong. But then he transitioned into the VA from there, and through these transitions, he's ended up creating a side gig where he has an Instagram page. And when you started at Marixa, like, he would have never had the capacity to do something like that.
Right.
And for you, now that you quit,
Yes.
Joanna, I'm certain that you're like, now what? I can do anything I want with my time.
That's exactly right.
And you have something drew you to pharmacy. And
Yeah.
what I find to be true is that even though pharmacists, you know, typically the really burnt out ones say like, this is awful. I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm just going to quit. I'm going to be, I'm going to sell this MLM thing, and I'm going to sell essential oils to my next door neighbors. I usually don't advise stuff like that, ever.
It's not going to work out.
Right.
I can't sell anything.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
usually, there's something about pharmacy that they enjoy.
Yes. That's what I was. Yes.
After breaking down the barriers of their hatred or their self-loathing,
Right.
like, take that all away. What is the one thing that you really like about this? And whatever that one thing is, there is for certain a job that is all about that.
Yes.
Maybe not 100%, but usually the majority. So what's going to be interesting, and I would encourage you, Margot, to do this in future episodes with your wife, because for everyone who's listening to this, they may be thinking like, well, this is Joanna's situation. Her husband's working. I can't do that.
That's
And
what they've told us.
they're not going to know what's going to happen
And
next
they're
for
right.
you.
Well, I mean, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, well, everyone's got their unique situation. I mean,
Hey, there is truth to that, but
yeah,
So
everyone's
say-
got, their ancestors to thank for where they're
Right.
at today.
Right.
And there's tons of blessings that you can't account for.
Right.
So don't compare yourself to Joanna's end, because maybe you haven't even started.
Right.
right.
But what's going to be really interesting is to see your transformation to this next thing, whatever that is. I would
It
highly
is
encourage you,
chronic
Marco,
care
to-
management.
Right, but you said you're volunteering, right?
Oh, yes. Well, it's always the hope that it'll turn into a job. I have great hopes. If I do it well, and it could lead to a position. If it doesn't, I have all this knowledge. That's the payoff. I keep saying this. They say, "Oh, thank you, Joe. Thank you. We did 42 patients this month." I'm like, "That's great. That's wonderful."
But the thing, it's important we're talking about this, and it's important to do this mental, for me at least. That kind of makes me sometimes sit back and think about my job and my position and where I'm at. And you kind of have to do this mental exercise where I ask myself, okay, if I do X for next 3 years, I might not be good right now, but in 3 years I'll be great. So right now, Joanne is doing CCM for free, essentially, chronic care management. But in 6 months or 3 months, you'll be much better, and other opportunities might open up.
I'm going to be better this month when I look at a patient with 3 different chronic cases, and what labs am I looking at, and what is going to draw. My thinking has changed already.
Right.
So the change is already there.
The important thing is that making this step and then making another step and another step and just keep pushing forward, because otherwise you just
Stagnant.
you're stuck. And a lot of people feel stuck. And you can blame your boss, you can blame the company you work for.
No need.
But it really is, which could be true, it's probably true, to a certain extent, but you gotta make that step forward.
Listen,
Yeah.
Mark.
That's how I see it. I mean, and I'm glad you did what you did, because a lot of things are opening up for you, and you're happier.
I thank you for the support. That's what I have to say to you.
Right.
Thank you. I'll keep making you coffee and doing these
Aw.
interviews. I know it's lovely, Alex. But on a
Tea after 6 p.m.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I just encourage people to do it if you can. If you see a way out, take it. And what you're worried about, study some Buddhism, some minimalism. You can't take this stuff with you to the grave. So, what are you accumulating for the sake of accumulation for? you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been known to tell my bosses when they say, "Oh, why are you doing so little hours?" I said, "Well, maybe if you had less cars, you could work less. Perhaps."
I'm sure that went over well.
Oh, absolutely. I told a staff pharmacist that years ago. I said, if you had one less car, you could just maybe work one day less. It'll work out for you.
Yeah.
It's true.
But we
Yeah.
got to stop holding on to things and really living. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Stop accumulating.
Now, Alex, I had one question. You kind of touched on this. We talk about the pharmacist and helping them, but for me, what's very interesting also is talking to the students and the people who are actually thinking about doing pharmacy. Because I hear a lot and I see a lot now where people are saying, "Oh, do not do pharmacy." Oh, so-and-so's cousin asked about pharmacy school, and
Yeah.
I told him, "No, do not do pharmacy," which I personally disagree with, because you can't just, as you said, there's a pendulum swing, things change, and just kind of discarding this whole section, of healthcare and saying, "No, don't do it. It's horrible." To me, it's a bad example, and there's a lot of that kind of talk right now.
Yeah.
So, do you have any suggestions, any things you want to say to future pharmacists?
Yeah. Don't do it for the money. Do
That's
it
right.
because you want to.
Yes.
Um, I think the online message, you've aptly said it. Everyone is saying don't do pharmacy. Anytime you do like a job, pharmacy job or pharmacy school, you'll see in the top 10 Google a viral, anonymous forum post of people complaining about the conditions in pharmacy. And they have valid points, but most of these people, unfortunately, are blindly angry. And they don't have the, rather than doing something constructive for themselves, they would rather just anonymously complain online. And that's a mindset issue for sure. If there's something in pharmacy that you think really intrigues you and you validated with yourself that this is something worth pursuing and you think that you can be good at it, whatever that it is, then you shouldn't let the naysayers say pharmacy's bad. There are still jobs out there. Yes, there's a 0% job growth. But the reason why I would encourage you to go pursue pharmacy is that during your training and even before pharmacy school, you should be doing everything in your power to get as much experience, as many connections, and as many opportunities as possible to go do that thing that you think is wonderfully interesting. Because if you're like me and you went through college just putting your thumbs together and saying, whatever, something will happen. Oh, shoot, it's the last year of pharmacy school. I better do a residency. You're going to get substandard results in your career. And the reason why so many people are complaining is because they have substandard careers. They have careers that it's probably causing them tons of comorbidities, diabetes, increased death, just all around increased death. And it's because they don't enjoy what they do. So don't be that kind of pharmacist. If you're just doing pharmacy because you're like me, you're like, oh, this is a safe career, lots of money. Um, it's all the bad reasons. Um, I will, I mean, without calling out names, you're going to find out what companies are not good. And
Right.
it's not just retail, it's hospital too.
Interesting.
And
There
market will,
are,
I mean, market will adjust that. I mean,
of
that's the
course,
truth, you know. We've
eventually
seen,
it will.
yeah, it
Yeah.
will. I mean, if you're around long enough, you'll see companies come and go.
Yeah.
So,
I, I think it would have been nice if you are considering, if you're watching this for some reason,
Yeah.
cool, thank you. Like this video, subscribe, give Marco a 5-star review because he's awesome.
thank you.
But what I would encourage you to do is to shadow as many different pharmacists as you can find that are willing to have you watch them and observe what they do and imagine yourself doing what they do and asking yourself, am I curious about this? Does this seem like fun? Or does this seem like painstaking work that I would not enjoy?
Mm.
Um,
Good
I
advice.
wish someone asked me that when I was shadowing them. Um, because whenever I shadowed a pharmacist, I was always like, this looks awful. um,
Wish
and like,
you wish you had a second opinion.
Yeah.
I wish I did. I'm after I graduated, started practicing. I remember asking my dad, "Hey, why didn't you tell me like I'm not detailed oriented, Dad? Well, like how come no one like brought up a red flag to say, pharmacy's good, but you hate details, Alex, so why are you doing this?"
Right.
But here I am. I'm basically a faculty member without a university,
I
and I'm
love it.
living my dream because I found what I love to do, which is teaching. That
I
is
love it.
the thing I could do all day long, 12 hours a day. And at the end of the day, I would feel great, tired,
Yes.
but spent, exhausted. There's a great book, forget his name, it's on my bookshelf over there. It's
Uh-huh.
called Die Empty. And the idea behind it is to don't don't put half effort into your work.
That's right.
Give your
Okay.
work everything,
Uh-huh.
because by doing so, you will only create more opportunities for yourself to do more of that kind of work that you love. That, and my life is a living example of this. If it wasn't for sacrificing some time in the week, hustling to build something, I wouldn't be talking with you, you know, on this podcast. I'd be probably it's 8:30. I'd probably be playing video games right now, you know, and dreading going into work tomorrow.
Right.
It's kind of sad to think about, but
Hey, no,
it's
listen.
not the reality.
Everybody has a journey, and it takes time. It takes entire life to get through that journey, and
Yeah.
different stops. Right now, for us, is pharmacy. Who knows? 10 years from now, we might be completely doing something else. But you never know.
You might start fishing. I mean, who knows?
Fishing, I doubt it.
I don't know. I just
Um,
thought I saw you
that's
fishing. Might be worth.
I'm a patient person, but
That's what I'm
that's too much patience,
I like to eat fish. I'm just saying.
and that's good.
I do too.
Um,
There you go.
Hey, well, Alex, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We can probably go for another hour. Um,
I could,
but
yes.
yeah, there's so much, as you said, there's so much to unpack. I'm just glad we touched on some of the important things, but we'll keep in touch. And how do people get in touch with you if they want to?
Your Check out our website, thehappyfarmd.com. If you're not a PharmD, you're welcome. We want
Right.
you a part. We don't want to exclude you. The oldest, one of our oldest pharmacists that we worked with was 62. Worked at
Beautiful.
Kmart,
Yeah.
was let go, didn't want to move from his small town. There wasn't a single job within 60 miles. Now he's working for a company doing coding, and
Look at that.
he just learned coding.
Really?
Yeah, he's being
Wow.
paid to learn how to apply coding in healthcare. So like, there's opportunities out there.
Yes.
It's possible. If anything I've said resonated with you, and you're like, you want to learn more about our style, what we think, check out my book, Indispensable. You can download a free copy at freerxbook.com. I believe that's the website. You can download the book there.
I'll put in the
And
comments. Yeah.
yes, yeah, you can check it out there. But
Awesome.
I
Well,
would
thank you,
appreciate it.
Alex.
Thank you,
And
Alex.
Thank you.
we're going to let you go and get some rest. I know you had a very busy day.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.